Thanks very much, Rob. There you go, the head of the resistance. And the next speaker is a successful escapee. I actually first read about her on the Escape the City site. She managed a portfolio at Merrill Lynch, and now she is, I don't know if someone over there is actually feeding themselves with what she's made, but it's, she's founded a gluten-free cake company, and if you want to sample it, they're lying all around the room. And she did it, I think, most memorably for me, because she didn't like how all the gluten-free products on the market at the time were packaged as hippie shit. So she doesn't have everything in common with Rob.
Or your shirt.
Yeah. So I'll pass over to Sarah Hilleary from Be Tempted.
Hi, I'm going to use this because I don't really have a very strong voice, so hopefully you'll be able to hear me. So has everybody tried a cake tonight? Yes? You all like them? Okay. Now they're all my recipes, and when I left the city, even before I had thought about starting my own business, I didn't know how to bake at all. So it was, as Rob was saying earlier, you sort of need to have an idea which is something that you're interested in. I'm a little bit nervous. I'm really sorry about this. Okay, so I wrote something. So my idea was really small, and it was to take gluten-free cakes, because cakes are something that everybody loves. I was diagnosed with gluten intolerance in 2008 when I was working in Merrill Lynch. Didn't really like the job very much, and I used to go to Borough Market every Saturday. I used to love going and getting all these breads and cakes and taking them home. I used to be a foodie. All of a sudden, I couldn't eat that anymore. So I was really disappointed. I used to manage money for people who had made it themselves. So for some entrepreneurs who, one of them was, actually I can't say their name, sorry. Anyway, I'll tell you another story. So I was at BlackRock when Money Supermarket floated, and I was sitting there opposite this guy who had started this website, and he was IPOing it for so much money, and I was sitting opposite him, and I was thinking, how did he, 10 years ago, he just had this little idea, and all of a sudden he's IPOing it for so much money. This is something that I want to do. This is something that really excites me. If I can get my little idea and take it to market, have people enjoy my cakes, and then sell out in 3 years' time, I'll be really happy. So that's exactly what I did. Taught myself how to bake, and the rest sort of flowed. I didn't have much experience at all. I didn't know how to run a business, and I was doing it myself. So I think in those situations, if you're thinking about doing something yourself, and if you don't have experience, to be honest, I would think twice about it. Get somebody on board, somebody who you really trust, somebody that you can really work with, and somebody who shares your passion, somebody who also might have skills in areas that you don't. So for me, I could bake. I taught myself how to bake, but I was really bad at it. So within 3 months of coming up with all these recipes, I'd employed a full-time chef who had actually trained at the Fat Duck, or he'd worked there for 3 months. You can't actually say that he trained there if he'd worked there for less than 3 years. So sorry about that. Okay, so I started my business from my kitchen. Now, how does somebody take a business which is home-based into markets, into supermarkets? There are so many stories about how people take things to market, and my main ethos is that I don't follow the rules, and I don't think anybody really should. I actually walked into Whole Foods Market on High Street, Kensington, with some cupcakes, and they weren't actually meant for Whole Foods. I just wanted to go in there and find out who the food buyer was to see if they'd be interested at some point in the future. the person that I spoke to said, oh, okay, yeah, I'll just make a phone call. Then they came back and said, oh, he's coming right down. I was like, oh, shit. Had a chat to him, and I was like, he's like, yeah, you know, we're really looking for a really good gluten-free cake supplier. So, you know, bring us some samples. I was like, well, you know, actually, I've got some cupcakes here. They're not actually meant for you. They're meant for a friend of mine who works at Harrods. But if you want to try one, you know, you can. And he did. And he took one bite, and then he looked at me and said, Sarah, come upstairs. And I went, okay. So, yeah, well, okay, in a business sense. So anyway, I went upstairs into their office, and within an hour, I was talking to the regional vice president of Whole Foods Market. Oh God. So I was talking to the regional vice president of Whole Foods Market, who absolutely loved the cakes, and he said, you know, we really want to launch you. We love your story. The fact that you've left your city job, you don't have much experience in, even though you don't have much experience in cakes or, you know, running your own business, we really buy into you. And I think that's really important. If somebody buys into your story, then they're more likely to, you know, to do business with you. So within 1 month, I'd actually come up with 10 different product lines that I wanted to launch into Whole Foods Market. And I was just like, oh, shit, they want 3 deliveries a week. Average delivery was £350 that they wanted, which is quite a lot of cakes. So if you think each bag of those cakes that are out there, the retail price is about £2.50, £3. So I'd sell them for £1.50 or thereabouts. So that's a lot of cakes that you have to make, and it was just me, so I was really, really stressing it. So I actually employed somebody very shortly after. I rented a kitchen space in the basement of a deli in Parsons Green. I made an arrangement with them. I was really resourceful, and I think that's what you have to do. Just, you know, I didn't have much money, right? I didn't have much money at all. So I ended up making a deal with this delicatessen and saying, you know, if I can rent some kitchen space from you, I will do it in a way where I won't actually pay you, but I'll make cakes for you instead. And they said yes. So, you know, I had a commercial kitchen, and I was there for about 3 months. They weren't charging me any rent, which was great. And then Harrods knocked on the door. They tried my cakes. They loved them. Oh, okay. So I ended up trying to raise some funds and getting myself into a commercial kitchen. And I mean, I opened a commercial kitchen in May of last year. It's a lot of hard work. You know, it costs about £20,000 to £30,000 to open, to invest and buy lots of equipment, the equipment that I wanted. I mean, you can do it on a budget, of course, which is what I did. But I bought a couple of expensive things like ovens and stuff, which are somewhat necessary if you want to have good ones. Okay, what else was I going to talk about? Okay, so I got the products into Whole Foods, got them into Harrods, and then I did a food show last year. I got them into Fortnum and Mason. So there's quite a lot of demand for gluten-free cakes. What I also want to say is that business is a journey. I'm a completely different person now than I was 3 years ago when I made the decision to jump ship. When I was working in the city, I was a very competitive person. And I think that a lot of people are, and I'm assuming that a lot of you actually might work in the city, maybe? Okay, right. Well, where I worked, everybody was quite competitive. And I was really in it for the money. I wasn't so concerned about gluten-free cakes, to be honest. What I really wanted to do was, I just wanted a business opportunity, and I really wanted to make money and sell out within 3 years' time. That's actually changed. I actually really do like what I do. I might have a conversation with myself every month and just remind myself why I'm doing this. You know, every time somebody eats one of my cakes, they absolutely love them, and it makes you happy. It makes me happy anyway. Started the business, into Whole Foods, into Harrods, into Fortnum's. Right, scalability is very important. Do you have the people in place to scale up your little idea and make it into a big business? Are your profits, are you profitable? Are your margins there? Are they there to enable scalability? when I first started, I wasn't so concerned about the profit. I was concerned about the sales and making sure that, you know, everybody, you know, as many people as possible were eating my products, and they were. But there was a cost. I wasn't looking at the amount that I was paying in courier fees and distribution. So even though I was making a small profit, it wasn't actually that great. What I've recently done is I've actually closed my commercial kitchen and I've outsourced the production of my cakes. So I found a company, they ended up buying my commercial kitchen. They bought all of the assets inside. They took on the employment of one of my chefs to ensure consistency of the gluten-free products, because there's a lot of issues with cross-contamination. So they, you know, they spent some money and to get some sales from me. And the idea there is that they're going to make it into, you know, there's all these regulations like BRC if you want to get into Waitrose or Ocado and so forth. So that's the reason that I ended up selling the manufacturing side, because you need to make a compromise at some point. In my case, you know, I love running the business, but my skills are in sales and marketing, so I needed to step away from the manufacturing side. And just with that simple step, it meant that I can scale up. And we are in talks with some supermarkets at the moment to sell little cakes there. Also, oh yeah, effectively business is a system. So as long as you can get a system in place, you'll be able to roll it out. And you need a contingency plan. So, I mean, I started the business myself. There was nobody else there who could do the management if I wasn't there. And the reason I'm saying this is because I have first-hand experience. In February, I had a big accident. I actually fell off a wall. It was, it wasn't drunken. I was sitting in my garden, and it was a 2-meter high wall, and I just, I fell backwards off it, and I broke my fall by sticking my arm out. I ended up breaking it. I was off work for a long time. That was a pretty bad break. I ended up needing major surgery on it, but it's fine. Don't know if you can tell, but it's fine now. But for about 3 months there was nobody who could do the management. So you really need to have somebody that you can trust to run the business if you're not able to. So you can't do everything yourself. You need to learn to delegate and accept people will make mistakes just like you will. You also, what I recommend is that you also join a support network of like-minded individuals. So join things like Escape the City. You know, join things like Virgin Media Pioneers and so forth. Have a good support system in place, because you will need support. And you need to plan to keep planning and evolving, because external factors such as competition are always in place. And you can't really control what others will do. Competition will occur. It's natural. Somebody told me this once, and I've kept it with me. Don't worry when they copy you. Worry when they stop copying you, which I think is it's great, because I've got a number of competitors who are copying me at the moment. So I take that as a compliment. I don't really have much else to say, but I just think that you should use your contacts and use your resources. If you are working in the city at the moment, you probably have access to things such as you know, Bloomberg. You have access to research notes. Find out what the average profit margins are in the industry that you want to go into. Make contacts with lawyers. Perhaps you're a lawyer yourself, or accountants who can help you when the going gets tough, because you will need advisors and so forth. And the last thing I want to say is that recently I was, there's this award thing. It's called the Smarter 100. And they name 100 of the most exciting, disruptive, resourceful businesses in the UK. They announced this last week, and I was lucky enough to be in there. So the winner is actually decided by public vote. So what I would absolutely love if you could do is log onto the Smarter website, www.smarter.com, and it's smarter with an A.com, /smarter100. Vote for me. The grand prize is £10,000 cash, and I'd absolutely love it, because that means that I can take a holiday, which I haven't had for 2 years. So please vote, please vote. Honestly, I'd love it if you can. And enjoy the cakes and enjoy the rest of the night. Thank you.